school. My counselor had a 1956 356 Irish green, one of my favorite colors. And he said, "Freddie, I want you to paint my Porsche." I, painted his car, and it didn't look good, not from close up anyways. So from there, my fascination for the car begun. I started reading about him and the rich race history that's behind Porsche, and the more I read, the more passion I had for the car, the style, the sexy lines. My first experience with a 911 was very memorable as well. It wasn't mine. It was a friend of mine who had one, and I drove that for a while, just a few blocks. He didn't want me to go too far, so I went a few blocks and drove it, and of course that was a whole different feel than the 356. From there on, I just had a fascination for these cars. What attracted me to the Porsche was just the brand, what it is, what it means. My first Porsche that I purchased was a 1978 911 SC, sepia brown, but that changed to Guards red. And that was my first car, my personal car that I restored. And I had enough people come and ask me, who did that Guards red car out there? And I said, well, that's my car. After a while, when the pool got larger, I started, built a little shop in the back of my house and started doing some wrenching and restorations, paint work and rust repair and suspension stuff. But thereafter, the pool got larger. I start my restorations with bare metal like you see here, a clean canvas. I can see everything, I can see everything, if it's been damaged, if there's any rust here, any kinks. It tells everything to me on a restoration, but you have to get them to this point in order to do 100% restoration, in order to do it right, in order to get all the rust out of the crevices. You have to dip them like we did on this car, and then start fabricating what needs to be fabricated, making sure that it's nice and stiff before you start cutting the floors up. I found this car in San Ramon, California. This car is special for a lot of reasons. Well, for one, to me, is the color. I mean, just look at this agua blue color. It's just fascinating. It's so pretty. It's a special order color. Also, it's a full numbers matching car. The doors, the fenders belong to the car. They're numbered to the car. The transmission, the engines, all numbers matching. When I purchased this car, I was going to restore it, nut and bolt restoration to the highest degree. It was going to be my signature car. And so I started on it. I gave myself 2 years to restore it. I was just going to do it slowly and methodically. And so it's interesting. I posted this car on a Porsche thread, and when I do these restorations, I want people to see what I'm doing and how I do it. You know, no hidden secrets of what I do or how I do it and why I do it. So on this car, I posted a thread, and this gentleman sends me an email, and he says, "Would you be interested in selling your car?" It was never my plan to sell this car. And I had read a lot about this man, Thomas, and I told my wife, you know, if I was to sell the car, this is the man who I would sell it to. I wouldn't let it go to anybody else. It just fit. And he wanted the car almost as much as I did. And so I sold the car to him, and a beautiful relationship started out of that. His dream was to drive a vintage Porsche in California. You know, he had always envisioned that, and I wanted to make that happen for him. So I trailered the car from here out to Sausalito in California, and that's where I unveiled, you know, the car to Thomas. I don't think I've ever seen a larger smile on anybody like I did Thomas that day. It was really majestic. It was great. Him and his girlfriend took the car and drove it to Yosemite. Drove it up and down the hills in San Francisco. And a week later, I went back into Sausalito and picked up the car. What Thomas is gonna do to this car, I can describe it in one word, or 2 words: drive it. I'm just happy I had a part in Thomas's enjoyment of this car. You know, to be part of that. Will it be difficult? Yes, but I'll just have to make trips out to Paris and drive it whenever I want to. When I go about a restoration, my thinking into any restoration is I'm restoring the irreplaceable. So the bolt that I take off or the nut that I take off, I restore it. You know, I get it plated, I get it done so that it goes back refurbished like the rest of the car. It's hard for me to deliver a car when it's fully restored and be happy with the delivery if I know somewhere in my back of my mind there's rust somewhere. You know, I feel pretty privileged. It's quite an honor to work on these cars. Part of the restoration of a Porsche, to me, of a car like this, is to get the customer involved. It's about the journey. I got clients coming in from, for example, 2 weeks ago, I had a client come in from Guadalajara, Mexico. You know, he has currently a 1967 911S that we're fully restoring to the concourse level. I had a client come in from the Philippines. I have a 1967 for him. To me, that's part of the journey. Part of the restoration is having these guys, you know, that really, really love their cars, and here they are, they entrust you with their pride and joy. Porsche is a trophy. You set it somewhere so that all can see it. It's something that you're proud of. It's a car that you can drive and always enjoy every drive. And I always come back to the design and how beautiful the silhouette of the Porsche is. You know, you find all kinds of things from people's maps, you know, where they've done their travels. You find lipstick, the wives or the girlfriend's lipstick somewhere in the car underneath the seat. And When I was disassembling the 1966 911 for Thomas, I was working on the alternator and trying to rebuild that, and I heard something rattle in there, and I kept shaking it, and finally, you know, this dime came out of inside the alternator. I was like, well, how does a dime get inside of that? You know, did somebody purposely put it there, or, you know? Oddly enough, this dime is dated 1965, which is the same year that car was born. 1965 was built, at least in 1966. So, you know, you find stuff like this, I keep it, and I told the owners, you know, this came out of, you know, your car, keep it.